This is chapter 1 of the Magruder's book. So we're going to go over this and we're going to look at the basic question of what is government and the principles of government. And then we're going to go ahead and look at how we classify different governments. So it's a pretty basic chapter, but it's really important because we need to understand how we're going to classify and make sense of something. Governments are a complex thing. And the more we can break them down into different categories or groups, sometimes the easier it is for us to understand it. So let's go ahead and get started. What is government? That's the most basic thing that I want you to think about in this class. When you think of government, what do you think of? Do you think of the school where you're at today? Do you think of the police? Do you think of the NSA? Reading all your emails? Or what exactly is a government? Well, a government is not necessarily the police. It's not necessarily the school system. Those are things that are used to implement policies. And so the definition that we're going to use for government is that governments are the institutions and some through which a society makes and enforces its public policies. So public policies, a public policy is anything from you can drive as fast as you want on the freeway to you can drive 25 miles an hour in a residential zone to we're going to have public education for everybody, a free and public education for everybody, and we're going to put a lot of money into schools. Or it might be something as simple as punishments for crimes. And I don't know if you noticed that Eric Holder, the Attorney General of the United States, he's opening up a discussion on what are appropriate crimes for drug cases. And in the past 20, 30 years, we've been putting people in jail for a long time for drugs. Are we going to continue to do that, or can we even afford to do that? Those are public policies. So it's not necessarily the groups that put the policies into action. It's the actual policies that are enforced by those institutions. All right, the state. So we have a government, we have a state. The state can be defined as having 4 different characteristics. And I'm going to just really go through these quick. They have to have a population. They have to have territory. So you have to be able to define the territory. You have to have boundaries, and you got to be able to defend that. You have to have a government, in which we just defined. And then you have to have sovereignty. Now, sovereignty is pretty simple, and you can pause it here and read these definitions, which I encourage you to do. But sovereignty is the ability of a state. So if you have a population, a territory, and a government, it is the ability of those of the state to have absolute power within their borders. So does the United States have absolute power within our borders? The answer is yes. Canada doesn't tell us what to do. Mexico doesn't tell us what to do, and neither does Russia, although they would like to. Now, on the other hand, can we tell Mexico and can we tell, Egypt? Can we tell Egypt what to do? Well, we can try and we can ask and we can offer money, but we really can't force it unless you're willing to invade them militarily and to go that route. So sovereignty is a very important thing. Sometimes we have governments that aren't sovereign, and so are they really a state? And that's the question. All right, where did we get this idea of government from? And if you haven't already watched the philosopher's video, that's kind of an important video to understand where we got the ideas of rights and natural rights and stuff. Well, this goes back before that, and there's 4 theories. Force theory, okay? That a small group took control of an area and they forced people to do it, okay? So that's how the government, or we first started having a state. The evolutionary theory. This is, you have a mom and a dad, you have the kids, mom or dad's in charge, And this is where you get the matriarchal or patriarchal societies. This is kind of the old biblical, family, the father's the patriarch kind of a thing. Okay, so it just evolved naturally. Divine right theory is that God created and gives rights at birth to royalty. So this is the divine right to rule. So the divine right of kings is also sometimes how it's used. Then you have the social contract theory, which is a lot of the Enlightenment philosophers thought, well, this is a social contract. Hobbes, Locke, they were all into the social contract. They just went about, the amount of rights that you're going to have are going to be a little different. But social contract is that people give up their freedom or their ability to do whatever the heck they want voluntarily, in return, they will get the protection of the state. They will be able to implement public policies that are good for people, etc. Okay? So this is going to be the end of part A. Go ahead and jot down any notes you want to take, and we'll see you on part B.